Good morning and assalamu alaikum. It is 10 o'clock, 3rd of November, and you're listening to me, Shemiza, on Where Else? Inspire FM 105.1 FM, and the show is The Urban Cube. It's an absolute pleasure to be in your company on this wonderful Monday morning. I hope you've had a fabulous weekend, folks, and having a great start to your Monday. As always, the show Urban Cube is about great conversations with creative trailblazers, and today's show is no exception. I am joined by an absolutely wonderful guest who is joining us all the way from the north of England. We'll find out exactly where. Now, if you are on Facebook, you can catch the conversation as my guest is live on Facebook this morning. She will be waving to the camera very, very shortly, and you can leave any comments on there and we'll be happy to read them out, inshallah. As always, we are beaming out to the wonderful people, Luton surrounding areas, Peterborough's Salam Radio and Sheffield's Link FM. And I hope you are well, warm and winning wherever you're listening in from. And as always, we love your contributions to the show. So do message in if you have a question or if you'd like to say something positive, of course, on 07779 481822. And we'll be happy to read them out to you. Now, on today's show, we are exploring the following theme: words that cross borders, preservation and evolution of minority languages. What does that mean? I bet you're thinking. Well, today's show, I'm going to be talking about the importance and the value of our languages from our heritage. And I'm going to be joined by an extraordinary individual who is an exceptional multilingual poet. She is a spoken word artist and the founder of the Bahari Patwari Literature Project. And a little bit more about her. Her name is Nabeela Ahmed. She is a writer, as I've already mentioned, a multilingual poet, spoken word artist. Her debut poetry collection, From Kashmir to Yorkshire, was launched this year at Bradford Literature Festival via Yaffle Press. She hosts Bradford Writes, which performs regional published writers, and she is responsible for organising the first public Bahari Mushaira in Britain through Intercultured Festival. She has featured on Word of Mouth with Michael Rosen on Radio 4 and The Verb. Her project, the Bahari Patwari Literature Project, delivered 2 new bilingual anthologies for the City of Culture, Bradford 2025. She has been the travelling poet for Word Up North this summer and one of the core poets for BBC's Contains Strong Language. All I can say is Wajiwa. Wajiwa. Assalamu alaikum, Nabeela.
Walaikum salam. Do I get to see you as well?
No, not today, my dear. I've got a radio face. It's an absolute pleasure, Nabeela. Thank you so very much for joining me this morning. And a little bit of story I want to share with you. My colleague, Brother Assam, shared me a TikTok video and he goes, wow, check this out, Sister Shemiza. It's in Bahari. This lady is actually performing a poetry piece in Bahari. So him knowing that you're on the show today has been wonderful. So thank you for joining me this morning. And where are we speaking to you from?
I'm based in Bradford.
Wonderful, wonderful. That feels like home from home. And what does the weather look like in Bradford this morning? I always ask my guests that.
It's a beautiful rainy morning. I'm staring at trees and leaves falling and it's gorgeous.
It sounds so poetic.
It is. It's just lovely.
Now, you've had a fabulous weekend. You've been super, super busy, mashallah, or a fabulous few weeks with the amazing creativity you have been injecting in Bradford with so many projects, mashallah. And what's so significant is that you are really putting Bahari on the map. It's always been there, but you're really giving it a new space, it feels. Nabeela, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sorry, I'm finding it really disorientating not having anyone to look at. Let me focus. I might shut my eyes. I started writing in 2018 and I wrote mainly fiction, mountains of it, but I don't have a background in writing. So I kind of had a word with my muse and said, I think it's time I learned some craft. I'm not going to put this out. so I'll take a break and learn some craft. And my muse has a really great sense of humour. So instead, she started giving me lots of poetry. And in 2019, I wrote about 1,000 poems, and they were in English and Urdu and Bari. And in Bari, I had to kind of do some work because English and Urdu, the poetry comes naturally. In Bari, I think I had some time to think. I thought, why is it that there's no literature in our language? And I thought, it's a lot of our poems are about emotions, aren't they? So we feel sad because something's happened, or we feel, we're passionately in love when we write about things. And I thought, do people who speak Bari and Potwari don't feel those things? I thought we do. So when I started looking around, there wasn't enough. And because we haven't grown up reading in Bari Potwari, it doesn't come very easily, especially in the beginning. It takes a while to get used to it, and particularly in our language, because there isn't a dictionary, there isn't fixed spellings. We all write how we feel like it. It was quite difficult, and then slowly I started having a go. And initially in Bari Butwari, every poem I wrote was about when I stayed in Kashmir. As a child, I spent 7 years, ages 9 and 16. And stayed in Kashmir. So all the poems I wrote, they were about that period. And then when COVID hit, I kind of had a word with myself, and I thought, it seems like my Bari brain is stuck in that period, or the Bari poet is stuck in that period when I stayed there. So I started, I kind of pushed myself to have a go at writing some poems in our own language that talked about COVID. And since then, it's got easier, and I write in all 3 languages.
That is absolutely phenomenal. For our listeners who are not familiar with Bahari, could you just explain to them where this language actually originates from?
Bari is the language of people of Kashmir on both sides of the border, so India and Pakistan. And Bari and Patwari are the same language. So we call it Patwar when we're in Pindi or Gujarhat, so the Patwar region of Pakistan, and Bari, we call it Bari when it's both sides of Kashmir.
And how many people are associated with this language in Britain?
About 70% of the British Pakistani heritage people have Bari Patwari as their language. And the reason we know that is that about 70% of the British Pakistanis are from Kashmir or from the Patwari region. So probably a bit more than 70%, but about 70% at least speak Bari Patwari. But it's an invisible language because we don't write it, we don't put in the census, we don't turn up at school and say we speak Bari Patwari. We say we speak Punjabi, we speak Urdu. Other people say you speak Mirpuri, etc. So at some points we'll say we speak Patwari, but we are a strange people because there isn't anybody else in the world who can't tell you a name of their language. We are that people. We can't tell you name from one family. You'll get 4 different names.
Why is it an invisible language if 70% of the diaspora from Kashmir speak this language?
Well, it's an ancient language, so it was the language of the courts in Buddhism times. Then it's flourished at various times during Hinduism, and it's had various scripts. So it's had the Landa script during the Buddhist times. It's been written in Sharda through various other periods of history. And if you think about that region, it's always been invaded, whether it's the Mughals or the Persians or the Mongols, or it's always been invaded by different people. So the languages in the area changed. So the last language, sort of towards our grandparents' ages, was Persian. So Persian was, more popular, and then Urdu's come, and Urdu's the language we speak, and English is there. And Bari Butwari has kind of suffered a similar fate as Gaelic and Gaelic have, in Ireland and Scotland. So it was pushed down. And if you think about a language, if you have a united language, you have an identity. And if you don't have a strong identity, at the moment, the political situation with Kashmir being torn between three big countries, it suits people who are Bari Patwari not to have a strong identity, not to have a strong Kashmiri language, and not to have a strong Kashmiri identity, and that kind of strength. So it's kind of portrayed as an inferior language, and we've taken that on. Now we don't need anybody to police us, we police ourselves. When I stayed in Kashmir, I remember nobody would go to like any daftar and speak in their own language, whether they spoke any Urdu or not. They would kind of switch to, हमने अब Urdu में बात करनी है, and because we're at a daftar. So I used to find that strange that we're still in our own area. And schools as well, up to primary, middle school, we spoke in our own language. We read in Urdu and there was the English subject and Arabic subject. But the teacher spoke to us in our own language. And then suddenly you arrived in Kalgar or wherever you were, and suddenly everybody was spoke Urdu, and anybody who spoke in our own language was made fun of. We were in our own area. We didn't leave, go to Mars. But you were made fun of.
And this really surprises me, and it's something I've been noticing whilst I've been growing up, that the association with Bahari or Patwari has always been considered uncouth. It's, and you've mentioned this inferior feeling towards the language. When is this going to shift, do you think? How can we shift? And I speak of I have a connection to the Pahari language. I am of Kashmiri heritage, alhamdulillah. So I understand this and I've noticed this. So when is the shift going to arrive? And I also want to say thank you for what you're doing, because I feel that you're helping to create this shift.
The shift has begun. The shift has begun because on the Jammu side on the Indian side, they've been working at it ahead of us. So they've been working for about 30 years now. They've already a part of the Jammu and Kashmir Arts Academy. So they produce a Pahari Shiraza, which lots of people write in Pahari, short stories and poetry and articles. So they've given it that academic place. They place it alongside the other Kashmiri languages. They've also managed to get from the Indian government what they call status. So Pahari has a status that, the people with unique language and unique culture. So the Indian side's ahead of us in that sense. The Azad Kashmir side, in the last census, Pakistan wouldn't even include Pahari as a language in the census. That's in Azad Kashmir.
Wow.
So we live there. It's our language. We clearly speak it, but they wouldn't, it's not in the census. In Britain, it's just simple, isn't it? I don't come from a political point of view. That's not my thing. I come from the heritage, the arts, the language, our culture, our stories and poetry and everything else. In Britain, you can understand why people would be scared. When the last census happened, there was a campaign to ask people, will you please put other for languages and put Pahari underneath? But they were also asking them to put, Kashmiri as identity. We travel on a Pakistani passport. People are scared. They're going to land in Islamabad. They're going to say, hang on, you're saying you want an independent Kashmir, and they're going to cause them trouble. People are scared. It's a political, in that sense. So they're not going to write Bari, and they're not going to, and say that. So it's invisible in that sense. But in terms of changes, so the Jammu Kashmir side, they're ahead of us. Azad Kashmir side is picking up. Recently, they had one of the other languages which they've included into schools. I think it's Gojri that have been incorporated into primary schools. So Pahari's just slightly behind. Hopefully we'll get there. We've got less probably fighters, but people are, arguing and fighting for it. It's the second year that we held International Pahari Day. So that's a combined effort from Islam diaspora and people on both sides of Kashmir. And that happens on 14th of April every year. So we're trying to organise events in different cities in Britain, but there's a massive thing held in Mirpur and in different parts, I think in Rawalakot and Muzaffarabad, supposed to celebrate our culture and our heritage. And in terms of Bradford, I've just hosted the fourth Pahari Mushaira at Waterstones, and I really wanted it to be mainstream. I did not want it to be in front room where all my uncles and brothers sit and we're not welcome, and I did not want it to be in a corner of a restaurant where no women, no children are present. I wanted it to be mainstream, and I wanted it to be family orientated, and I wanted the whole place and then all of Bradford and England to know Pahari exists. These are the people. We can walk in, and I say walk in. I normally discourage all of my white friends from coming. I say it's the only event I will not translate or interpret, because it's the only space we get to share once a year, and I want to encourage new people to write and to come and share. And so I can't accommodate in 2.5 hours interpreting. And when we started, Shmaiza, 4 years ago, I called my best contacts who do know people, and there was 5 of us on stage. And this is the fourth year, and there were 12 people who had written and stood up and shared, and I wasn't one of them.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Do you know what? I'm getting goosebumps. This fills me with so much pride that I'm interviewing you, because you are making history. You're making a presence for Bahari speakers. Mashallah. I've just had a message from brother Tanvir Mughal. He has said her research is excellent. Congratulations. Keep it up, sister. We need to promote our native language. Mashallah. Thank you so very much for that, brother Tanvir. Folks, if you've tuned in, it is 10:15 and I am in the absolute wonderful company of Nabeela Ahmed, who is a multilingual poet and spoken word artist and founder of the Bahari Patwari Literature Project. Now, Nabeela is with me all the way up to 11 o'clock today, and we'll be talking lots more about the preservation and evolution of minority languages. And the language we're speaking about is Bahari. Bahari is a language that many Kashmiris who are resident in Luton or Peterborough, Sheffield, or across the country will be quite familiar with. It is considered an invisible language and Nabeela has just shared that with me, and we were trying to identify why it's so invisible. But today we're making it very visible. We're making it very vocal, because Nabeela is going to be actually performing poetry in Bahari for us today. Mashallah. So, Nabeela, whilst you get ready to do so, folks, feel free to message in onto the show today, 07779 481 822. Share your thoughts, around Bahari. Is this a language? If you're a Bahari speaker, are your children, if you're a parent, are you teaching your children to speak this language? Or are you like my parents? They taught me to speak Urdu. I wasn't taught Bahari. I was taught Urdu, and I've not really been able to kind of transcend so much so with my children. But I do feel that time, nothing is lost. I can go back and teach them, and hopefully through this poetry. Nabeela, you're going to be performing a poetry piece for us. These are published poems, I believe. You're going to talk to us a little bit after that, after your poem. What is the title of the poem to begin with?
The poem is called Nani Nagra.
Ooh,
called Nani's Village.
Lovely.
I wrote this because it reminds me of a lot of our villages in Kashmir. So it's called Nani Nagra. जिंदगी गुजरी गई है, जिंदगी गुजरी गई है, पर नानी ना उगरा नहीं भुलना, ओ दलीज ओ चुल्ला नहीं भुलना, ओ दलीज ओ चुल्ला नहीं भुलना, तपनी दपैहरी कल चुमनिया, हाला नहीं रोटी ते ताज़ा सालन नहीं भुलना, ओ मक्खन ओ लस्सी नहीं भुलनी, बड़ी हाला ना लाड नहीं भुलना, सर्दियां विच मामू नी मूंगफली, गर्मियां विच जूस नहीं भुलना, सरीए नाल बाई भी पींग नहीं भुलनी, सरीए नाल बाई भी पींग नहीं भुलनी, नानी नी कस्सी होई चोट नहीं भुलनी, हत्थां विच मेहंदी नी गोगी नहीं भुलनी, हत्थां विच मेहंदी नी गोगी नहीं भुलनी, लीरां नियां बनाई होईयां गुड्डियां नहीं भुलनियां, भरावां नियां दित्तियां स्वीटां ते लाड नहीं भुलना, ओ खबाड़े जहां ओ सारे रसाले नहीं भुलने, ओ घड़े ना पानी ओ चार नहीं भुलना, ओ घड़े ना पानी ओ चार नहीं भुलना, ओ खुले बेड़े ओ बूटियां नी छां, ओ ईदां ओ दशूरे ओ शबरातां नहीं भुलनियां, जिंदगी गुजरी गई है, पर नानी ना उगरा नहीं भुलना.
Wow. Do you know what? That actually got me quite emotional. And the reason being those memories.
Yeah. Shared memories, aren't they? A lot of our villages were the same environment. There always was a swing hanging after Eid off a tree. The Karena Pani was always cool. There was jar made in every household. Your Naniya Dadiya always made you goodiya with lira. The Naniya Dadiya always put a blob
Of
of mehendi,
course.
a big
Of
ramsak,
course.
Eid. Yeah, it's the shared memories,
Oh
isn't it?
my goodness. That is, I have to say that actually, you can hear the emotion in my voice, because that took me back to my nani's gra. It took me back to those memories. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about poetry, about words, about oral history, is just kind of reviving memories and archiving heritage. Now, this is a response I've given you. You can't see me on camera, but there is a tear dripping from my eye, because you really took me back to a place, and that's why. Oh gosh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Is this a response that you get from those that listen? I mean, what has the response been, Nabeela?
Shahraz, I've got at the moment the manager in Bradford for National Literacy Trust, will call him Imran Hafiz, and he'd heard this poem somewhere and got in touch with me. And we've been working together for years now. But this poem was the catalyst for us meeting, because he was like, that's in our language. That's taken me to places. But the best reaction I got was in a place that I didn't expect it, and not from people to my, and it was uplifting and heartbreaking at the same time. I teach creative writing across the ages and from schools to colleges and all sorts of community settings. And I'd gone to a primary school in Bradford, and majority of the population there is Bahari Potawari speaking. They're from, between Gujarhan and Bindi, and between in Meetbur and Kotli. So they spoke, majority of the kids spoke Bahari Potawari. And I stood up, and this is another thing you'll find. When I start speaking in Bahari Potawari, the children usually giggle. I always know in the class who speaks Bahari Patwari, because they get embarrassed. Because it's a
Wow.
language that we're taught. As a Bhartana bolne na, you don't speak it in an official or proper setting.
Mm.
She stood in a school and she's speaking in our language, so they giggle. I know exactly which children understood fully. And I finished reading this poem, and these were year 5 children. So they're 9, 10, 11 years old. And they stood up and gave me a standing ovation. They were so emotional. And then they went, read it again, read it again. And I read it again. And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, what kind of Bave are you lot? You're tiny little people. And they were like, you spoke our language. You said our language.
Oh
I've
my
been to
goodness.
Kashmir. That was my village. It was like, yeah, I was overwhelmed just with their reaction.
I love it. And you call them little Barbie. They're a
Honestly, they
little
were. They were like this big, little grandmas and granddads. Well, why would they like this poem? But they were so moved. And
because it's
yeah,
a connection, isn't it? It is
yeah,
the love of the older generation. It is, time has moved on, and we have left so much behind, and there's a lot of things that I think that's why I resonated with your piece, because it kind of, my nani, bless her, she was
yeah,
my connection to Gotli, and
yeah,
she's no longer there. So you sharing these
yeah,
words took me
yeah,
back to a place, and I've had the pleasure of living abroad many a year,
yeah.
which many people don't know. So I'm through and through Kashmiri, folks. So it fills me with pride that you
Yeah,
are sharing this in places like Waterstone. And I love the
yeah.
fact that you said, I ain't translating nothing. I'm going to say it only
And
in Bahari.
every single year, I have at least 1 or 2 English friends who come and sit through the whole thing. I've told them, and I discourage them. So most of them just think, yep, this is, he hosts enough events where we all go to. This is something that's invisible language, leave it to it. Every year, there's 1 or 2 of my white friends who will say, so I want to come for the atmosphere, don't care if you're not translating. And they stay through the whole thing.
I
I was
love
like,
it. I love it.
each year they'd be like, loved that. That atmosphere was brilliant. And this year it was Keith Fenton who'd come. And at the end he goes, that was such a northern peace, love.
I love it. That is absolutely wonderful. I want to keep you. I want to keep you forever. And I'm sure our listeners
I'm
do
yours.
as
I
well.
belong
You
to my
are
community. I'm here.
Marty
Or
Pen.
community.
Sadke Jawa. That's all I'm going to say, Marty Pen. Folks, you are listening to the Urban Cube. We've got a little bit of a different vibe today. It's all about the Bahari Patwari language on the show today. And I'm joined by the impeccable Nabeela Ahmed. She's a multilingual poet and spoken word artist, founder of the Bahari Patwari Literature Project. And we are definitely putting the spotlight on Bahari. We are going to be heading to a break, folks. Nabeela will be with us. She will be joining us straight after the break, where we'll be hearing another 3 poems. Mashallah, I'm super, super excited for them. I've got my box of tissues. I got super emotional. She took me to a place that I didn't think she could move me in the way she has. And I'm sure she's going to move you as well, Nabeela. What are the titles of the 3 poems that we're looking forward to hearing on the second half?
I'm going to share the next one. And I feel bad, but because you've got upset.
It's good
It's called
tears.
When We Left Home. I wrote it because my mum and mother-in-law always find that the hardest day. Leaving, not knowing if they'll ever come back. Packing in that way. So I put in all the vocabulary of the things that we had to pack up and leave. So that's one of them. And plus, I didn't want to lose those words. We don't use, kandali and talai and all those. We don't use those
Oh
words.
my goodness.
And with the farming, so I try to put those in. I'm trying to keep my grandma and granddad going, and so that's one of them. The next one's going to be, I did some work with children through Bradford City of Culture 2025, and I produced 2 Bari and English bilingual anthologies. And I'm going to share 2 poems from the children's work with you.
That is absolutely wonderful. And folks, don't take your delight anywhere. Bring it back. We are heading to a break. And inshallah, joining me is the wonderful Nabeela Ahmed, where she's going to be reciting some more wonderful poetry from herself and the children of Bradford. So join me straight after this break. Assalamu alaikum.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
अगर आप अपने इस कम्युनिटी रेडियो स्टेशन का हिस्सा बनना चाहते हैं तो आज ही इंस्पायर एफएम की टीम से राब्ता कीजिए। फोन करने के लिए 01582 481810 या फिर ईमेल कीजिए info@inspirefm.org। इंस्पायर एफएम, आपका अपना रेडियो स्टेशन।
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton? For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
Lee Grave Heating Supplies. With over 20 years of experience, we're the largest independent plumbers merchant in the area, specialising in all types of plumbing and heating, as well as combination boilers and megaflow cylinders. Whether you need a new bathroom or a complete new heating system, LHS is the place. Come along to our brand new bathroom showroom at Unit 1, 3 Chorlend Lane, Luton, to see the latest range of quality bathrooms. Or log on to leegrave.net. We're an Interpart-approved stockist for all genuine spares. Our new store in Bedford is now also fully opened. Lee Grave Heating Supplies. Call Luton 84 86 88.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته وبسم الله. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدوامها وإن قل. That the most beloved action to Allah is those which are regular, even if little.
Celebrate in style at the Grand Royale, Luton's premier banqueting hall, offering elegance, luxury and seamless event planning. Host up to 750 guests with top-tier catering, stunning decor, photography, videography, hair and makeup, DJ, dance floor and expert event management, all under one roof. Whether it's a wedding, birthday or corporate event, let's witness the happy family moments together. Call 01582 551913 or visit grandroyale.co.uk today.
ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله.
Ali is one of those children who, with your assistance, has the honour of being a Hafiz. And that too from only £29 per month. Help UKIM by sponsoring a Hafiz and get rewarded by up to 70 times blessings. For donations, call now or visit ukim.org.
You want to talk about real issues affecting Muslims today? Join me, Michael Dowd, every Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Speaker's Corner. We will be talking about the issues and the current affairs that are affecting Muslims here in the UK today. 6 p.m. Inspire FM, Tuesday, only on Inspire FM. I'll see you there.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shamiza.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and assalamu alaikum. It is 10:30, 3rd of November, and you're listening to Inspire FM 105.1 FM. The show is the Urban Cube, and it's an absolute pleasure to be in your company this morning. Thank you for joining me on the second half of the show, and I am Shamiza, taking you on a fabulous conversation with the absolutely formidable Nabeela Ahmed, who is a multilingual poet and spoken word artist, founder of the Bahari Patwari Literature Project, and she joins me today all the way from lovely Bradford. Assalamu alaikum, Nabeela.
Walaikum salam rahmatullah.
Thank you so very much for staying with me on the show this morning. It's been quite a journey that you've taken me. You've taken me all the way back to Azad Kashmir with the beauty of the words that you've presented to us. We had the pleasure of listening to a beautiful poem called Nani Nigra, and which was all about memories from your grandmother's village, and you're going to treat us with more poems on this part of the show. Now, today's topic is words that cross borders, preservation and evolution of minority languages. And Bahari is a language that spoken by many of the Kashmiri diaspora from Azad Kashmir, and it's considered an invisible language because it's not written in, and it's not kind of identified in schools and mainstream venues across Azad Kashmir, but it has some history. It has a lot of history and a lot of longevity. And many of us of Kashmiri heritage, this is a language that our great-grandparents, our grandparents, and our parents have spoken and speak, and it's a language that may possibly now being lost because most of us now are speaking English or English, really, to our children, more so than our Kashmiri dialect. But I'm hoping Nabeela will help us shift this narrative and take us back to our roots in language. Now, Nabeela, I've had another message from Brother Tanvir Mughal who says it would be great if both of you could talk more in Bahari because your listeners are mostly Bahari, although it's an English program. I don't know if our listeners are mostly Bahari. I do believe our listeners are cross-cultural from all over the world, believe it or not. From out of Luton, but I don't know. What do you think? I have to be honest, Nabeela. I am more fluent in Urdu. I understand Bahari, but so I'm not confident speaking in Bahari, but I'm sure you are.
So जब मैं जुमले बोला तो सना एक दो लफ्ज बोली छोड़े.
Ji bismillah. Go for it. Go for it. I totally understood that. And I love it. I love the way, you make it sound so poetic. And this is the thing. Bahari has been considered quite a harsh language. It's not soft. And it's always been noticed as being aggressive. Would you agree with that?
That's not my feeling, I'm afraid, Shamiza. I've never felt it like that. I find, compared to some of the languages, just listening that I don't understand, they can sound like people are fighting. I used to joke with some of my friends who spoke some of those languages, and I used to say, "Why are you fighting again?" They'd be like, "Shut up." And I've never found that with ours. But I suppose it is how it's spoken, and I do come from a family that use them a lot of manners and that kind of softer way of it. So that might be the case, but I don't have that association.
I'm glad you don't. And this is what we need to kind of dispel this myth and break this stereotype. And the fact is poetry with an audience attending that. To listen specifically in Bahari. I mean, this is like a new world to me. Bahari Mushaira. I mean, I never thought this existed, but yes, it does. Nabeela, tell us more.
Well, the Bahari Mushaira is in the 4th year, and I set it up specifically because I wanted a space I attend a lot of open mics. I write mainly in English. So I attend a lot of open mics in Yorkshire and Bradford in particular. And I always share something in Bari, something in Urdu. And one of the good things about the English people is they're incredibly accommodating and very nice. So during the break, somebody would always come up and say, didn't understand a word, Nabeela, but it sounded beautiful. Or I got it from your body language anyway. I know what you were talking about. So but it got to a point where I wanted people to understand it as well. I wanted to be an audience who people got all of it as well. And I've turned 50 this year. And when I turned 40, I decided everything that doesn't exist that I want, anything that I've got the skills for, I'm just going to go ahead and create it. And all it's going to mean in that it's not going to be the best plush version that I would love to be part of. It's just going to be my tiny little equivalent of Jalapan or whatever it is. But I'm going to do it anyway. So I've just been doing that for the last 10 years.
Do you know what? I love your jalapan. Bring more of it on, girl. We want more jalapan.
It is Jalapan because, you know, if you've been to Urdu posh Mashairas, there's like everybody knows the norms and they say Mukarrar and they join in with it and they'll say Wan. You know, we're brand new at this at Waterstones, and we always have a couple of brothers at the front who will say Subhanallah, and they'll say it's like, you know, repeat it, and they'll join the words and they'll add them in and they keep the energy going because the rest of us are very polite.
So what do we say in a Pahari Mashaira? Do we say Changi gal?
They do. They'll say that. They'll say it's like, you know, they'll do a mixture of Urdu and Pahari because we're a combination, aren't we? It's like, you know, Behtareen, say, you know, whatever they're supposed to say. It's like, you know, they do. But like, you know, most of us sit there very politely, like the British Kashmiris that we are, and British Pakistanis that we are, very politely listening and patiently and enjoying it, and at the end you're clapping like that.
I love it. I mean, I never imagined in my lifetime I'd see something like this, and I'm so glad that my dear Nabeela Ahmed's Jalapan has like sparked.
Bring Beijing there. You'll see Beijing, you'll see Bave.
Oh my gosh, Beijing!
You'll see Beijing. They come. As my sister's mother-in-law's missed it for the first year, and she was devastated. She had to go to a wedding, and she couldn't miss it. So she said to me afterwards, she said, "I would have rather been at yours, but Jana Bena." And stuff. Oh. So they come, they love it, and same with the children, my nephews and nieces, my sons. I kind of encourage it to be a family environment, and yeah, we have a really lovely time.
And I think this cross-generational link is so important because it is our grandparents that have are the ones that are preserving the language, and then we are giving back and celebrating and honouring. And this is what you're doing, Nabeela, isn't it? You're honouring this language, the linguistics, to keep the heritage alive and introducing it to the next generation. And I think that's applaudable, mashallah. And so much so that you have actually opened up the poetry landscape to the next generation with this poetry book. Wonderful. And you're showing it to the audience, called Apni Zaban. Could you just hold the books up again? Apni Zaban, Invisible and Unscripted and Interwoven All of Our Words. 2 books, published poetry pieces, and you're going to be reading from them right now, aren't you?
I am. So again, I wanted to, for a long time, be able to be in a position, I suppose it's about money, isn't it? Because I work, this is, you know, I had to turn it into a job to be able to continue it. So I applied for funding for a couple of places and got rejected. And then eventually City of Culture accepted the application, which is the best place it could have been. We always need to trust Allah Pak when he doesn't, like, you know, give us when he doesn't, he gives us better. So City of Culture accepted my proposal to work with adults online, because people are across the country, from Birmingham, from Rochdale, from Bradford and Leeds. And we produced this one. In this one, we've got 2 scripts. So in this one, the people that could write in the Persian Arabic script, they wrote in that in Bari, and then you've got a translation. I go to a lot of schools and colleges, and teachers are forever saying to me, you want us to talk about children who come from your heritage. However, we don't have literature, not even in English written, that we can say that they can relate to. We need relatable stuff. So I was desperate to create some literature that's our voices. I didn't want to be writing about Nani Nagaran, olden times. I wanted them to write about Bradford, about England, I wanted contemporary literature in Pahari and in English, so it's accessible to everyone in Britain. So with the adults, the ones that could write in the Persian-Arabic script wrote that, and then we've translated it and given the English, or they've translated it. A few people needed support. But then we're at a stage, Miza, where if we want our language to continue, people sat in the diaspora can't keep it alive. It has to be at the place of origin.
Indeed.
They need to incorporate into their day-to-day lives, into their official lives, into things that are moving. There's new literature being created, it's used in the offices, new books are written in it, it's part of their curriculum. We won't be able to keep it alive. We can do the little bit that we can for here. So I keep my focus in Britain. I don't think about Kashmir. I don't have access to it, and this is where I can make a difference. So I want our young people not to have the confused identity of which language do you speak. I speak Midpuri, he speaks Potwari, he speaks Punjabi. No, you speak Pari Potwari. You do have a language. You do have an identity, and a beautiful one with a legacy and amazing arts, culture, heritage. You've got everything. So I just wanted to, I thought, how do I work with children who, in our masjids, we used to have Urdu as compulsory at some point, and then we were teaching Urdu GCSE. I don't know about Luton, but in Bradford, most schools don't teach Urdu anymore. So it's Spanish, which is useless to most people, in the sense that they don't use it and they forget it. But in terms of the script, then they can recognize it because they read the Quran, but they can't read it and they can't write in it. So what I found was that every time I go to a Galinga event, a Geet event, all the girls, whether they can speak our language or not, they're sat there singing away really loud and clear. So how is they reading all of Apna Galinga and songs? Well, they're using the Roman script, and off they go. So I thought, well, if you can use it for singing and songs and for Bollywood songs, why can't you do it for party poetry? So that's what I did. I went into schools and I said to them, I know you don't speak. I know you're not able to write in the Persian-Arabic script. However, you can write in the Oman script phonetically in your own language. And there were 18 new children. So this book has got 18 children's work from 2 secondary schools.
Amazing.
And I'm going to share with you. I'm going to start with this poem because one of the things that we forget is that the things that we can say in your own language, even if you're not fluent in it, and even if you can't write in it or you can't read in it, they still touch you at a deeper level, and they still access a part of you that other languages cannot. So I did not go into schools and give grief as a topic. I took creative writing, and the topics they chose were uplifting and positive and a mixture. But this was one of the poems one of the little boys wrote, and then said to me, can I use a pseudonym for it? And that's what he did. We didn't share it because the joy of this piece of work was that because it was through City of Culture, I got to launch these two books at a huge theatre place, and we had 300 people there. So these children didn't just write it, they turned up in their snazziest shalwar kameezan, sharare, chadra pletiyan, suits on, and then went on stage and shared it in front of 300 people.
That's phenomenal. Amazing.
But this poem is called Intezar. And it says, Ik message ne intezar vich sare jagne. Ik message ne intezar vich sare jagne. Ki oh bachi gain. Mata theek hui jaan. Sare mare agge piche ronen. Jile phone call aayi hai. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. Is ik goshe naal कितने दिल त्रुटी है मारे जिस्में विचों जान निकली गई है ये समझीता है वो फौत हुई गए हुन मदद करी सकना है सिर्फ रोना या सजदे पेईदा है अल्लाह कोलू मदद मंगनी मारे ओठ दुखने जितनी बारी मैं उन्ना ते दुआ मंगियां जो मिकी छोड़ी ते अपनी फैमिली की छोड़ी ते गए कुछ वेले जिले मैं कब्रा पर जाना मिकी यकीन नहीं आशना ਇਹ ਸੱਚ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸਾਂ ਹੋ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਸਾਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਮਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੁਆਵਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ These 13, 14-year-olds wrote these poems because they can say it in their own language that they can't say in English.
That was so impactful. A 13-year-old, the level of depth and thought and feelings and emotions, and having the opportunity to write in his own language could have helped with his grief So beautifully put. We've had a message from Salma Akhtar, lots of emojis, tearful emojis. So that's obviously resonated with Salma. Salma, tell me your thoughts. Share your thoughts on that piece. We'd love to hear from you and how it's impacted you. I'm quite taken aback. And I just want to say thank you, Salma. I'm sorry, Salma, for your message, but also Nabeela for giving this platform to this young 13-year-old, allowing him to express himself, which would have helped him tremendously. How did it make him feel once he actually saw the words in print?
I was afraid in the beginning that he might not let me, because as soon as he'd written it, he showed it to me and said, "Miss, don't tell anyone." And he didn't want anybody to know, and we changed his name. He didn't share it on the day. I didn't share it on the day whilst he was there in case somebody figures it out. And it's in the book though, and I share it just because he wasn't the only one. At a different school, another boy did the same, and it was boys. That also struck me. I thought, is it because our girls we allow? I don't know. I don't know if the girls felt they'd shared it at different times and the boys hold it in. And the other little boy had lost a brother, and he'd put him in Eid days and turning up to see his sibling, and yeah, again, we changed his name as well. He was the same. I said, "Miss, don't share this. That that it's mine." Yeah.
I'm so proud of the boys. And I'm sure you are as well. And I'm hoping that, inshallah, this will kind of encourage them to do more, because you might have put like a light bulb moment in their head, and this could be a pathway that they may go towards to become creative writers. Nabeela, I'm sure a lot of our listeners would like to hear more. I've just had a message from Salma Akhtar. She said he is amazing boy. He's an amazing boy. So, and he sure is, mashallah. Nabeela, your next piece.
I'm going to swap, Shmaiza. I'm going to share mine because it's again a tough piece, but I'm going to finish with the uplifting one, and that's one of the little boys who wrote it again.
Okay.
I did work with girls as well. One of the girls is the funniest pieces. If we have a moment, I might just share a couple of lines. She wrote it about Shah Rukh Khan and our crushes. Because it doesn't matter what culture you come from, you're going to be young and you're going to have a crush on a celebrity. Sorry, this is one from my book, From Kashmir to Yorkshire, and it's called Jilakar Chhodiya Si. जिलाकार छोड़िया सी कलेजा फटने वास्ते सिर्फ शराब नहीं चाहिए होना कलेजा फटने वास्ते सिर्फ शराब नहीं चाहिए होना जिला पांडे 36 भरून लाई ते 22 संदूके विच जिला पांडे 36 भरून लाई ते 22 संदूके विच दरियां खंदलियां तलैयां ते रजाइयां बईयां सन जिला पेटी विच चादरां खलियारियां सन आखरी वारी रंगां ने पाए आले पलंगां पर हल पंजाली खुड़पे दराटी ते कुआड़ी लाए सन कोठी नी कंधा नाल सेलियां खोली ते किले परूं जिला बईयां सन पीपे विच कोले चू कनक ते कुनियां चू बीं जिला बंडी छोड़े सन बेरा जिला मालै थू खाली सी अनचाचे जिला साफा बन्नी ते बक्सा रखिया सी सिरै पर ते सरिये इथूं उठी ते कुत्ता टुरी पिया सी माड़े नाल कलेजा उल्लै दी फटिया सी.
Wow. Another beautiful poem recited by no other than Nabeela Ahmed. For anybody joining into the show this morning, grab a box of tissues because these poems are so impactful. I'm joined today by Nabeela Ahmed, who is a multilingual poet and is performing pieces in Bahari from her published poetry books. Nabeela, the next one.
This piece is written by a lovely boy whose name I can say. He's called Zainul Hussain. He's 14 years old. And the reason I'm sharing this is, remember I mentioned the word Baba before? Mm-hmm. This is a 14-year-old who his parents have regularly taken back to Kashmir. And when I asked him, one of the themes was, what are you going to become when you grow up? And he said, Jilla mein bada hosa. Jilla mein bada hosa by Zainul Hussain. Jilla mein bada hosa, main Pakistan vich kheti baadi karsa. Kank te baira rasa. Te dangana vaste patte. माड़ियां बाड़ियां 10 कनाल हो सन मुल्क जिनी हो सी मैं भेडां मंझ दांद ते बकरियां रखसां एक कुत्ता ते कुछ कबूतर मैं शलवार कमीज लासां ते पैरां पर खेड़ियां ते ते कोई साफा पढ़ना या पगड़ी सिरै पर ना रखन लगा। मैं सवेरे 6 बजे जागसां ते मंज चोसां, फिर नमाज पढ़न जासां। घर च परांठे मक्खन ते साग खासां, बकरियां बाहर खड़सां, दोपहरी मुड़ी ते चूजा ते रोटी खासां, गाय की पट्ठे बासां, बच्चे खोलसां के ओह् दुद्ध पी गिनन, फिर सेई जासां। शुगर वास्ते मैं डैम पर जासां, मछलियां पौरसां, अपने दोस्तां नाल खासां। He's 14 too.
Do you know what I'm going to say, Nabeela? Utoi janea.
Exactly. He's a 14-year-old kid from here who also talks about burgers and bonfire night and Christmas and presents, but that's what he wants to do when he grows up.
I love it, Kitty Mario. I love it, absolutely. Yeah, that's it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. The pride, the memories, the beauty in just like the simplicity in life, and the fact he just wants an easy life, Kitty Mario. And I just love the nuances and the description and all those little things that are actually being lost in modernity, because Azad Kashmir is becoming very, very modern. Villages are being replaced by big buildings. So this is history. We're losing. I mean, it's not about being in Britain. It's also going back there, that the essence of the villages that we remember as children are becoming now like, mahal and mansions taking over.
Yeah. So, the reason I shared these poems is because I kind of want to. One person can't change a lot. One Mushaira a year is not enough. So what I'm hoping is that next year you'll organise a Bari Mushaira in Luton. I'll come as a guest if you like, but that because you have a platform, even if you do it just for the radio show for International Bari Day on the 14th of April, it'd be lovely if you did an event where people from Luton came, shared their stories in their own language, and children came. So you had the intergenerational thing where whatever children knew they can share or say as well, even if it's a few words. If we're going to do this, it has to be a really combined effort. We have to do it city by city, town by town, where we are, and we've got to be a bit like Bisharm, like me, and not think that I don't know enough. My degree's in business and my masters are in education. I promise you, I know nothing about literature, not in any language. And I speak Bari, but not the best of Baris. I'm not the best of hosts. I stammered for a long time and I struggle with people's bios. If there's anybody who's got plenty of faults, I specialize in nearly all of them. So if I can do it, I promise you, every single one of you can. And if our children need the space to write, even if they're not fluent in it, even if they don't write in the Persian-Arabic script, because they've got the thoughts. You cannot get that poem out of Zain al-Husnain in any other language than in that, because the vocabulary doesn't exist in any other language. Our children have feelings and thoughts and our culture and heritage. We need to provide the platforms for them, but for adults too. It's in the second book, and I won't share from this, but the second book that you saw, it's adults writing. Again, we've got short stories. We've got brand spanking new short stories set in our contemporary times, because that's the criteria I set, written by people from Britain who are writing in Bari and then translated into English. You've got brand new poetry again. So we don't lack people who write. If you think about English, we have millions of books produced every single year in every country. They're not all fabulous, and not all of them are Shakespeare, and not all of them are, the best writers in the world, but they try. And some is good, some isn't. We need tons of literature in our languages. And those who say, oh, well, I'm not a poet, I bet you are. But even if you're not, have a go at short stories. Have a go at writing essays about how you're feeling. Have a go about writing your memories down, and your memories and anything you remember. Right? Write the stories that you remember as from your childhood. But even better, do both, write and find platforms to share. So our job is to provide those platforms the best that we can do.
Indeed, and I'm so glad you gave a shout out to getting Luton involved and engaged. I mean, it'd be such a shame that Luton didn't get involved on the 14th of April as and launching a mushaira here. You've got some ideas now in my head, which I'm going to be like tampering away with. And if there's anybody that would like to get involved in a project like this, Nabeela, how can people contact you? What are your social media handles? How can they get hold of these wonderful books as well? And what else are you doing? We've got about a minute left, my dear. Jaldi boliya.
Everything's under my name. I'm called Nabeela Ahmed. It's this Tobra on the thingies. So I'm Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok now as well. So you can find me.
Mashallah. It is Nabeela Ahmed. She is a lady to follow. Absolute pleasure. Bada mazaya sunika. You know, am I doing all right with my party, Charlie? Nabeela, thank you so much for joining me and sharing the titles of the books. Before you go, the title of your books are and where can we get them from?
You can buy these two books from Amazon. So one is called Apani's Ban, Invisible and Unscripted. The second one is called Interwoven, All of Our Words. And or you can buy them from me. And my poetry in 3 languages is called From Kashmir to Yorkshire. And you can buy it from me.
Amazing. Nabeela Ahmed, thank you so much, Berne, for joining me today. Absolute pleasure. I'm so inspired and it's really made me look back at Bahari in a different light. Folks, it is the end of the show and join me same time next week, same place for more creative conversations on the Urban Cube. Stay smiling, stay happy and keep us in your prayers. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Coming up next,